everybody, I'm Steve Beckmen, winemaker for Beckmen Vineyards, and I'm here today in the cellar at the main house on the estate winery property. Going to get you caught up with everything that's going on the fourth quarter of 2018. The fourth quarter is really one of our busiest quarters of the year. Of course, it's harvest time, so a lot of what we do in both the vineyard and the winery is dominated by picking and harvesting and fermenting and making wine. So let's get caught up with what's going on in the vineyard. Out there, obviously our crews are busy almost every day picking grapes. We can pick, anywhere from as little as only a couple tons to as many as about 10 or 12 tons in a day and be able to process that into the winery. Our crews usually pick overnight, so they'll start maybe at 10 o'clock in the evening and they will continue until about daybreak. The crews are out there harvesting. They do a really important job. They're really our first sorters, as you say. As they picking the clusters, they can discard any clusters or any leaves or anything in the bin that doesn't look like it's going to make good wine. So that's really their primary focus right now, is just to get everything harvested and to get everything picked. And right after harvest, we're really working on our soil. So we'll go through and we'll plow, we'll do amendments, we'll do composting. It's our time to get some biodynamic preparations onto the vineyard. And then we'll plant our cover crops. And once our cover crops are planted, we cross our fingers and we pray for rain. So there's a ton going on between now and really over the next couple months. In the winery, the fourth quarter is really about making wine. And I thought it would be cool just to talk about how we make wine. Our white grapes are basically made out of the juice. So when the grapes are brought into the winery, they're put directly into the press, and there we press them for their juice, and we put that juice into tanks or barrels where we'll settle it out, clarify it, and then do our fermentation process. The fermentation on the whites, we like to do them cool and slow so they can take typically about 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the variety and depending on what it's fermented in. So a lot of our wines are fermented in steel tanks or stainless steel barrels. Some of the whites are fermented in barrels, typically older barrels. The barrels, since they're not temperature controlled, tend to ferment a little bit quicker. And in the steel, where we can control that temperature, we can prolong that fermentation out. The red grapes are a little bit different. So with the red grapes, we're actually fermenting the grapes themselves and not just the juice. The first thing that we do is we sort through them on a conveyor, and then they go into a destemmer where just about all of them are destemmed, and then they fall onto another table where we sort again. And this is a berry sorting process. So once the grapes get into a box or into a tank, we let them soak for a while. So typically, again, we're picking these at night. They're coming into the winery and they're nice and cool. We soak those grapes for maybe 3 to 5 days, depending on 1, the variety, and 2, the conditions of the grapes and the harvest. So after soaking, we'll add a little bit of heat to the tank. So if it's in a tank, we can add the heat. If it's in a box, then we typically move it outside into the sunshine, and that heat helps our fermentation to start to kick off and to go. The process for the red grapes being on the skins in the fermenter boxes or in the fermenter tanks can be as little as 12 days, but as much as 3 weeks. Once they're fermented to almost dry, we'll drain the tanks and we'll take those grapes and we'll put them into the press where we'll gently press on them, and then we'll add that to the free run juice that we've taken out of the tanks or the boxes prior to putting grapes into the press. So that's really important for us to separate that press fraction from the free run juice, because the quality that we get out of the free run juice or the slightly pressed juice is typically much higher than it is out of the pressed juice. From that point, we'll put them into a barrel, and there they will age for anywhere from as little as 10 months to now up to almost 30 to almost 32 months as we kind of extend the aging on some of our better wines like Block 6 or TLB. Fourth quarter is holiday time. We have Thanksgiving, which is an incredible time to sample some of our Grenache wines, in particular Cuvée Lebec, some of the whole cluster, Purissima, or just the Saint Ynez, and I'll even throw the Grenache Rosé in there, as it's a really wonderful pairing for the Thanksgiving Day meal. We also got Christmas, which is a great time for wine as gifts, wine club memberships as gifts. So we're always really busy in the fourth quarter. Tasting room typically gets really busy around the holidays. It's also a really beautiful time to come and visit. I personally love it when the vines all lose their leaves and you just see the sticks out there and the trellis and the skeleton. There's something about that, the bareness of it all that I really like. The fourth quarter is an incredible time to visit the winery, and I hope we'll see you soon.